Hey everybody, Ronaldo Woffman here, and if you're watching this video, most likely you are considering your first aquarium. Now, some of you may be tempted to go to the pet store, buy your tank, get it all set up, and put fish in there. Don't do that, and I'll explain why in just a second. Now, some stores will give you the terrible advice and tell you to run the tank for 24 hours, and then you can put fish in it. Nope, that's wrong too. This video is going to explain to you why you can't just do that, how the whole filtration process works, and how to do things the proper way. So first of all, let's talk about filtration. There's different kinds of filters, whether you use a hang-on-back filter, the filter that hangs on the back, whether you use a canister filter like I have here, or even a submersible filter. They all work with mainly two different kinds of filtration. First, you have your mechanical filtration. This can be carbon, this can be coarse sponges. Basically, it's just something that either helps literally or chemically clean up the water or get rid of the major plant matter or organic matter. But in reality, all organic matter rots, and this is where biological matter comes in. Now, it doesn't matter if it's fish poop, fish pee. Well, imagine fish pee and it's got to go somewhere. Gross. Uneaten fish food, dying fish, dying plants, any kind of organic matter will eventually rot and turn into ammonia. Now, ammonia will kill your fish almost instantly. Within a few hours, they won't be able to breathe. They come up for air, but the ammonia is just not letting them get the proper amount of oxygen, and they die from what's called ammonia burn. It's very common because you'll see like the little red around their gills and such. So in your filter, in the little spongy areas and stuff, you grow what's called nitrosomas bacteria. Now, there's actually multiple kinds of nitrifying bacteria, but nitrosomas, nitrosolubus, nitrospira, and nitrosococcus. Yeah, nitrosococcus. Say that 3 times fast. So this bacteria will grow in your filter and it'll turn all that ammonia into nitrite. Nitrite will also kill your fish in even small quantities. Luckily, another set of aerobic, meaning underwater bacteria, not bacteria does all sorts of neat tricks, aerobic bacteria grows. Now, these are 3 different types. We have Nitrobacter, Nitrospina, and Nitrococcus. All right, not your Nitrospira and Nitrosococcus, but Nitrospina and Nitrococcus. The names don't matter. You can call them bacteria A, B, C. All that matters is that it grows in your filter and it turns that nitrite now into nitrate. Nitrate doesn't hurt your fish at all until it gets in large quantities. Now, how do you get rid of those large quantities of nitrate? With a water change and, of course, with plants. Plants will suck up ammonia, but most importantly, they will suck up those nitrates. And for that, you can see my plants are growing great, but I also don't have any carbon. Now, why is that? Well, carbon in reality for most planet tanks is not necessary. The plants do a great job of taking up a lot of the nutrients that carbon helps soak, and in reality, carbon, once it's exhausted, leaches everything back out in there. But your filter comes with carbon or charcoal. We'll cover that in just a minute. So anyhow, here's what happens, right? You have to have some sort of ammonia. So when you set up your tank, you technically have to do it the long way. Now, let me just go into my little fish pharmacy here. So technically what you do is you set up your tank, you have your filter and everything running, and you're going to pour the appropriate amount of bacteria. Now for that, I use the CCAM Stability or Fritz 7. Some people use the API Quick Start, which works just as well. There's a lot of great instructions in there. I don't pay attention to any of that. You can't overdose on bacteria. Can you make your water cloudy? Yes, but it's your bacteria basically trying to find a home, right? So for a tank like this, if I get the little standard bottle of Stability, on day 1, I'm going to dump the 1/2. On day 2, I'm going to dump the other half. Some people just take a couple bottles of the Fritz 7 and dump the entire bottle. With my salt water, that's what I've done. Now, everything I'm telling you will work with either salt water or fresh water because, well, it all works the same. The chemistry and the way the bacteria work is pretty much the same. Different types of bacteria, but for salt water, it's around the same. Anyhow, you also need ammonia storage. Now, some people will put a dead shrimp in there, or they'll ghost feed where you buy some really crappy flakes. And how do you know if it's crappy flakes? In my opinion, if it's flake food, it sucks. So any kind of crappy flake in there, because that is full of crap your fish really don't need, but the bacteria will absolutely love. The problem is, it's going to take a while to do that. Instead, you go with Dr. Tim's Aquatics. Now, this is pure ammonium chloride solution. You follow the directions on here. Don't pour the whole thing because you can kill your bacteria too. But basically, you add about 4 drops per gallon. And if not 4 drops, I believe it's like 0.1 milliliters. The solution information is on there. And you dose it appropriately for your tank. You wait from 7 to 40 days. Now, technically, it takes about 40 days for that nitrifying bacteria to mature and grow in the tank. But I've noticed that if I dump the entire bottle of bacteria in there, I have it within 7 to 14 days, depending on how big my filter is. We'll go over that in just a second. Now, how do you know when it's ready? Well, when you do your water test, your ammonia should ultimately be at 0. Once you add this ammonia in there, it's going to spike up like crazy, obviously. Your ammonia is going to come down to 0. Your nitrites are going to spike up, then they're going to come down. And by the time that your nitrites come down, that nitrobacter, nitrospleen, and nitrococcus are going to eat all that and turn that into nitrates. At that point, your nitrates should be up. It can be anywhere from 20 to 100. Once you see what we call 0, 0, and then a number that's higher than 0, looks like your tank is ready. How to get rid of all those extra nitrates? Because you really don't want to go beyond 20 for most tanks. Just do a water change and you're good. You can also put some plants there at that point, but don't put plants beforehand because some plants will help filter out ammonia and your bacteria doesn't get the growth that it needs. So why not shrimp? Why not ghost feed? Just not enough ammonia. It's going to take a while for that to break down. Whereas the Dr. Tim's Aquatics gets to work right away as to feeding your bacteria. Now, your pet store told you, well, just dump the bottle of bacteria and in 24 hours you're good. Wrong. Wrong. I mean, they can tell you that all they want, and a lot of pet stores do that because they're ready to sell you fish. They're waiting for them to die so they can sell you more fish. And honestly,
ding dong, you're wrong.
You gotta wait for that bacteria to grow. Now, let's talk about those filters, right? Because a lot of those filters are, on the words in there, disposable. And if you read the instructions on there, it tells you to dose bacteria. Because, again, they're just wanting you to continue buying supplies. In reality, once your filter is established, you don't ever change it. The filter in here, years old. The filter in that one, a couple years.
6.5 hours later.
My point is, you never change that filter. But that sponge gets dirty. It absolutely does. But all you got to do is when you do a water change, you dump some of your water into a bucket, you take that filter out, you just rinse it out, never in tap water because you don't want to kill all your good bacteria. Just rinse it out and you're good. It's kind of like those cloths you buy from Walmart that you polish the jewelry with. They tell you the dirtier it is, the better it works. It's kind of like that. You just want to rinse out your filter to get rid of some of that particulate matter so the water still flows pretty well. What about the charcoal and carbon? If it's a new tank, you don't need it. You really don't. And honestly, in my opinion, in most freshwater tanks, you don't need carbon. Carbon is there for a specific reason, and that is to help with the waste containment, meaning to get rid of that smell. But in a new tank, you don't need it. If you're doing water change, in my opinion, you don't need it. If you're doing plants, you don't need it because it's going to absorb everything. Let's say that you want to, let me see here. You want to dose your plants, and I use the Aquarium Co-op Easy Green. This is the best stuff out there, right? I put this in there. If there's carbon, that carbon is going to soak up all of my Easy Green so my plants don't grow. You just don't need it. When you get to the point that you need it, now salt water, that's a whole different story. So I know you saltwater people are like, whoa, I'm talking freshwater right now. But once you get to the point that you need carbon, we're going to talk Purigen in a later on video, and you're going to thank me for that later as to why carbon's a whole different disaster. So, we've got your filter. But my filter comes with a carbon. I totally get it. I recommend supercharging your filter. And I want to point you to Aquarium Co-op's channel because Corey's talked about different ways of supercharging your filter. But in reality, I bought the, let me see if I have any here. If it's one of the thin filters, I just shove a whole bunch of this on there because this has the bacteria. This will grow your bacteria. You know those little white bags that they sell, you know, that go inside the filter? Just get one of those bags, buy some of those little ceramic blocks in there, crush it up, or if they all fit in, put it in, and that's really all you need. The more you can jam-pack that filter, the more bacteria, the better. And that's it. That's all it takes. It's going to take about anywhere from 7 to 40 days. But you already bought your fish. Crap. So you're going to tune into the next video that says, I bought my fish in a tank in the same day. What do you do? So let's talk about that because you might kill your fish, but do it this way and you'll be fine. Let's tune in.